guys are going to hear it. The latest from the locker room, the latest from the podium, the latest scuttle from the players.
On your proud home of 49ers football. KNBR, the sports leader. Your faithful fix with your host Larry Krueger begins now.
And welcome, Larry Krueger back with you. Happy Saturday, December the 6th. You're running out of shopping days if you're looking to buy me something. Get out there and shop. But welcome to not Niners Nightly, and it's not even nighttime. It's 49er Forecast on a Saturday. What are we forecasting? I think the Niners will not lose tomorrow. I think there's no chance in the world they lose. I'm betting it all. Put it all down. The Niners will not lose tomorrow. Bank on it. Take it to the bank. Oh, okay. Well, bad dad jokes. They're in the bye week. There's no game coming up tomorrow, but you can join me at Pig and a Pickle. I'll be out in Pig and a Pickle in Corte Madera doing a little meet and greet tomorrow. Stop by and say hello. But welcome to 49er Forecast on the Sports Leader on a Saturday. Hope everybody's having a great week. Niners enjoying a good, restful bye week. Getting ready for the Tennessee Titans to make an appearance at Levi's next week. Cam Ward and the Titans roll in. Niners are 12.5-point favorites in that thing. But we've got a great hour for you. The fantastic John Chapman, who does one of the best Niner podcasts in the country. He's going to stop by in the next segment. We'll get his thoughts. But I kind of do have one question for you if you're driving around on this Saturday. 808 KNBR, the phone number. Give me your thoughts on the 49ers. Have they turned a corner and they're going to power through this final four games and establish real momentum and rampage people in a surprising way in the NFC playoffs? Or is it just that Cleveland's bad and Arizona's bad and Carolina's bad and maybe Tennessee's bad and the Niners really haven't turned any corner at all, but they're just playing teams that they're better than and they're taking care of business? So which is it? I mean, are the Niners on the verge of some great historic December to remember where we're going to sit there and go, yeah, unbelievably, no Bosa, no Warner, no Matter, and the Niners are going to rampage through a wide open field of playoff contenders in December and go to the Super Bowl at Levi's Stadium in their backyard? How awesome would that be? I got to be honest. I'm going to tell you what I'm rooting for. I'm rooting. My nephew's a Patriots fan. I'm rooting for Niners Patriots. How great would that week? Just close your eyes and try to picture what the first week in February potentially could look like. First of all, AMC and AMC Plus has that incredible documentary on the Niners coming out February 2nd or 3rd, something like that. So we may get an incredible Niner documentary that we can see the week before the Super Bowl. Potentially, you could get Roger Craig, longtime Niner running back, voted into the Hall of Fame, with possibly Kraft and Belichick in the same week. That could happen. You could see Kraft and Belichick and Roger headed towards the Hall. And then Niners, Pats, Drake May against Brock Purdy, Mike Vrabel, the coach of the year, against Kyle Shanahan, probably the deserved coach of the year. That would be phenomenal. I've seen enough of the Chiefs, and I'm rooting against the Chiefs this weekend. Hopefully, Houston puts them out of their misery, and we can just no more Mahomes, no more Andy Reid in the playoffs. But how great would it be to see Brock Purdy and the 49ers against Drake May and the New England Patriots? The dynasty of the 2000s against the dynasty of the 80s, the Tom Brady Bowl, if you will. Brady's home, childhood team against his professional team. That would be incredible, absolutely incredible in Levi's. I believe the Niners, though. I think the NFC is the road team. I think the Niners might have to give up their locker room to the Patriots in that situation and be in the visitors' locker room, which would be bizarre because the Niners made the home locker room 7 times larger than the visitors' locker room. The home locker room has a 30 or 50-foot ceilings. The visitors' locker room has like 6-foot ceilings. I mean, I've never felt more cramped than that visitors' locker room. It is absolutely tight compared to the home locker room. The home locker room, I mean, seriously, you'd have a hard time throwing a baseball from one end of it to the other. I mean, I could, you could, but a lot of people couldn't. It's a big room. It is a big room, so that would be kind of bizarre, but that would be incredible as well. Brock Purdy and George Kittle and Kyle Juszczyk and CMC and Shanahan in the bowl in a year where this isn't the year that everybody thought they'd be there, right? They were supposed to get this done earlier, but it didn't happen. And sometimes that happens in sports. Sometimes when you're supposed to win, you don't. The hardest thing to do is do what you're expected to do. And the Niners, haven't been able to get that Super Bowl win. Wouldn't it be amazing in a year where they already lost Bosa, already lost Warner, already lost McKell, if they somehow found a way into the Super Bowl in their own stadium against a young upstart Patriots team that, is coming and they've got a bright future, but maybe they're a little bit ahead of their time. I'll take it any way it comes. I want that 6th Lombardi badly for the 49ers, and I know Jed wants it as well. So that's what I'm hoping for. You get the Niner Doc, you get Roger Craig into the Hall, you get the Niners rampaging the NFC playoffs, and a Super Bowl appearance at Levi's for Super Bowl 60. So now the question is, how realistic is that? And how much momentum do the Niners really have at this point? It's hard to gauge, right? It's hard to gauge. On one hand, they beat Arizona 41-22. They allowed Carolina to score 9. They just gave up only 8 to Cleveland. The defense appears to be getting better. As the season goes on, it appears that the 49ers defense is getting better. Their pass rush seems to be finding its form at exactly the right time. They seem to be improving. Over the last 3 weeks, the 49ers ranked 7th in EPA per play on defense. And they're 3-0. And now they're 3-0 in those last 3 games to roll to 9-4. So EPA is interesting as a metric. For the season, the 49ers are 24th in this area, but they're 7th in the last 3 weeks. So that tells you how bad they were before the last 3 weeks. Now, is that all because Arizona, Carolina, and Cleveland are not good offensive teams? Possibly. The Rams put 40 on them, the week prior to this 3-game run. So are the Niners really better, or are they just playing bad teams? Well, I see real improvement. Now, a pass rush will help a secondary for sure. And you're seeing a little bit more pass rush. The Niners still have the worst pressure rate in the NFL, 14.4% according to PFF, or Pro Football Reference, I should say. But they had 3 sacks in Week 13 against the Browns, and that's the most they've had in a game since before Nick Bosa went out, Week 2, when Bosa was still in there and healthy. So they're starting to pressure the quarterback a little bit, and look what's happening on the back end. They're getting turnovers, and they're getting great play. I think Malik Mustafa and Jair Brown are really getting better right before our eyes, and it's something to watch. Now, I wanted to see John Lynch make a big move for a Hendrickson or for a much more impactful edge rusher. He wasn't able to do it, but he did add Cleve Farrell and Keon White. And Cleve Farrell and Keon White are worth discussing for a minute, because Farrell, I'm telling you, I get a chance to talk to these guys. This guy's all about the ring. He's made money. He's played in the league. He's had some success. He's had some failure. He's about the ring. He's all about the ring. His greatest season as a pro was 2019, his rookie year out of Clemson, when Cleve Farrell stepped into the Raiders and had 4.5 sacks. He did it in 15 games. He's got 4 sacks right now with the 49ers in 4 games. He's ideally suited to play in this wide 9, and he is balling and really playing good football. And maybe can that continue is the question. But he's playing well, and he's all about the Super Bowl ring, and he wants it, and you can tell he's hungry. So that's impressive. And, we're seeing him. I mean, it's almost kind of like, reminds me a little bit of, for Giants fans, kind of reminds me a little bit of Cody Ross in 2010. Giants didn't even want Cody Ross. They were just trying to block him from going to the Padres. So they put in a waiver claim on him, and the Marlins are like, oh, he's got kind of a big contract here. So you're stuck with it. Tag, you're it. You've got Cody Ross. And I'm sure the Niners in their offices probably went like, damn, they stuck us with this contract. Well, they weren't saying that later, were they? Because Cody Ross got really hot and became the MVP of the NLCS and helped the Giants roll to the World Series, a World Series that saw them win their first title in 50-plus years. I get that same vibe about Cleve Farrell. Just the fact that, is he a great player? No. Is he hot? Yes. Is he healthy? Yes. Is he seizing this opportunity? Yes. Did he want to be on a winner? Yeah. And now he's on a winning team, and he wants that ring, and he's after it. And it's a beautiful thing, man. It is a beautiful thing seeing a guy that hungry. So he's impressive, and he's a great story. The other guy, though, is even a better story. Keon White, former second-round pick at a Georgia Tech. This guy is just an Adonis. I mean, you're talking about 6'5", 285, and kind of ripped. I mean, who's 280-plus pounds and ripped? I mean, that's just, you don't see that every day. And what a great addition this was by Lynch. I mean, they sat there and scoured the league for all the different guys out there, all the different options, what it would cost, cross-compared that to, how the fit would be. I'm sure character had a big play in the whole thing as well because there's some bad guys who you can always get if you want them. And the Niners don't like bad guys. They don't want to add bad guys. And so they're looking for somebody who, they could get cheaply that would fit their scheme. And they go to the Patriots for Keon White. And man, if we do get that Niner Patriots Super Bowl and Keon White does what I think Keon White's going to do the rest of this year, there's going to be a lot of people asking Vrabel, why the hell did you trade Keon White? Because I think Keon White's going to continue playing great. Why? Because he's just not it's amazing. He really was not a scheme fit for that 3-4 defense that the Patriots run. Why? Because he's not a 3-4 outside linebacker. He's not a stand-up, drop into coverage, cover the flat against the back. No, he can't do that. He's 285 pounds. He's not an outside linebacker. I mean, you can fudge it a little bit. You can fake it. We've seen Draymond Jones and other guys at bigger weights playing outside backer, but it's not necessarily the rule of thumb. And Keon White, surprise, surprise, at 280 pounds is not much of a cover guy in the flat. This just in. Keon White's not a great cover guy. But he's also not a down defensive lineman who's a two-gapper, and that's what the Patriots want out of their down three guys in their 34 front. So he's not that either. So he just was sitting in New England as a poor scheme fit, just kind of wasting away. And the Niners, credit the Niners. They identified him, weren't worried that he wasn't producing. Lynch has a good relationship with Vrabel, so he picked up the phone and got on the horn with Vrabes and basically said, hey, what's the deal? And I'm sure Vrabes just told him the truth, which is, hey, look, guy's just not a scheme fit here. We got other guys that are better. We got guys who can cover the flats better. We got guys who can bend the edge better. We got bigger, stronger linemen that can hold their point of attack against the run better. He's not going to play for us. And Lynch is like, hey, you know what? We don't run your scheme. We got a wide 9, which is a version of the 4-3, and it's a one gap and go, penetrate and get up the field kind of a defense. And we're asking our guys to do totally different things than you're asking your guys to do. And Vrabel totally gets it and said, okay, here you go. And look at what has happened since. Keon White has looked absolutely amazing with the 49ers. He's 280 pounds. You can line him up at defensive end. You can stun him inside. You can line him up at defensive tackle. You can twist him outside. The guy can do it all. Against Cleveland, according to Next Gen Stats, Keon White had a pressure rate of 28.6%. It was the second highest pressure rate of his entire career. So this thing's coming together. It is absolutely coming together. Those two guys up front are giving this team a huge lift, okay? Then you got these veterans like Kalia Davis and Jordan Elliott who are balling and playing the best ball of their career, both of them. Both of them are playing the best ball of their career right now. Then you got the two rooks inside, Collins and West, and they are tremendous young prospects getting nothing but better and better and better and better. And you can see it. They're playing more snaps, they're producing more, they're playing better. And then you mix in the fact that the Niners hope to get both Sam Aquinu and Yatir Gross-Matos back in the mix after the bye week. And now you're looking at this thing going, wait a second. This thing up front is coming together. Aquinu's been a very dependable rusher. Since Bosa went down, his pass rush win rate's 11%, according to PFF. Only Bryce Huff at 16.7% pressure rate has got a better pressure rate among Niner defensive ends than Aquinu. Aquinu is really cooking. So you've got Aquinu who can rush inside at 270, or he can rush outside. He's a very versatile guy he's uber athletic, and he's a self-made player, but man, he's made at this point, and he's playing well. So Sam O getting back in the mix is going to help. Yatir Gross-Matos is the kind of the wild card here. And you say Yatir Gross-Matos, and some Niner fans are like, he sucks, he stinks, he's this, he's that. He's been hurt a lot. Heck, this guy has been his potential, the potential of YGM has been discussed since he was a freshman at Happy Valley. I mean, this guy's the prototype physically. And he's got a pass rush win rate of 23.4%. And that ranks first among all interior rushers in the NFL. Now, he's been limited because of injury to just 5 games. But if Yatir Gross-Matos can continue to do when he comes back onto the field what he did earlier this year, and you get Sam O back, and you got some of those veterans rounding into form, and you got the 2 new trade acquisitions starting to really ball, and you've got the 2 rookies starting to really get confident, the pass rush is starting to come. The pass rush is starting to get dialed up. And what happens then? The young DBs look better. Jair Brown looks better. Malik Mustafa looks better. Upton Stout looks better. Demo Lenore. These guys all look better with a pass rush. Funny how that works. So I kind of, part of me says, it's Carolina, it's Arizona, it's Cleveland. They're garbage. The Niners are going to get their comeuppance when they play Indy. They're going to get their comeuppance when they play the Bears. But you know what? The more I watch this thing come together, the more I think the Niners are going to fire and could run the table in December. Could run the table. It's possible. One other note here in this opening segment, kind of the news and notes of the morning. Diana Rossini is reporting this morning from The Athletic. And they have a lot of these Saturday morning, stories. I don't know if they're big stories, if they kind of just release them this way, but she's got a list of 6 or 7 coaches that are on the short list of NFL teams looking for a head coach. And shocker, she's got Robert Saleh as potentially gone at the end of the year, which I think the Niners are prepared for. That's why Gus Bradley's here. I do think Saleh's going to get another gig. But I'll say this, and Robert Saleh, if you're driving around listening to KNBR, listen to me and listen to me close. You don't get a lot of opportunities to be a head coach in the NFL. You're already 0 for 1 with the Jets. Don't take a Raider gig. Don't take the Giants gig. Don't take the Tennessee gig. Don't take a gig that's not going to work. You need a quarterback. I would say no to everybody that is looking for a head coach unless Cincinnati called. And I know Cincinnati's a bad organization, but they have Joe Burrow. If Cincinnati calls and I'm Robert Saleh, I'm going to Cincinnati and I'll try to win a Super Bowl with Joe Burrow and somehow get beyond the bad management and bad ownership in Cincinnati. But I ain't going to these other places. I ain't going to the Giants. I'm not going to the Titans. I'm not going to the Raiders. I'm not going to these teams where they have no quarterback, no structure, because I'm not going to get a third opportunity to be a head coach. So this is going to be probably my last opportunity to be a head coach. So I'm going somewhere where I got a quarterback that I think can win a Super Bowl. Not maybe, not, I like Cam Ward's potential. No. Go. You got a great gig. You're the defense coordinator of the Niners. You could stay here for the next 2 years, and a better job will probably open up in the next 2 years, and then you can go where you want to go. I'd pick that next job very, very carefully. And if Cincinnati wants to hire you, then they got Joe Burrow. I'd do it. Otherwise, I'd say, nope, I'm happy where I'm at. All right, there you go. Not that Robert Saleh needs to listen to me. Let's do this. Let's take a timeout. If you want to chime in, 808 KNBR is the number. Have the Niners turn the corner, and they're going to run the table and have a big December and potentially get into Super Bowl 60 at Levi's? Or have they just played 3 bad teams the last 3 weeks, and they're going to get slapped around in the final part of the year, and they ain't going anywhere? 808 KNBR. I'd love to hear your thoughts one way or another. John Chapman's got one of the best Niner podcasts in the country, the 49er Rush podcast. We'll get his thoughts on these topics and more as he joins the conversation next. It's 49er Forecast on a phenomenal Saturday. Big college football Saturday, by the way. Texas Tech's up 10-7 on BYU in the Big 12 championship. Later today, Georgia, Bama in the SEC championship in Atlanta. Indiana, Ohio State. Number 2, Indiana. Number 1, Buckeyes at Lucas Oil at 5 o'clock on Fox. And then Duke and Virginia battle for the ACC title tonight on ABC at 5 o'clock. So championship Saturday in effect. Niners in the bye week. And John Chapman to join our conversation next on the Sports Leader.
KNBR, the Sports Leader.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys. right, boys. It sound right, boys. It sound right, boy.
Shotgun snap for Purdy. Fakes the give. He runs left. He's got a nose for the goal line, and he's in for a 49ers touchdown. Read option in a celebration for the quarterback, Brock Purdy. The toe looks just fine on a 2-yard scamper, and the Niners lead 16-8 with 1:29 to play third quarter.
Jack, what did I say pregame? You got to have a wrinkle in the run game, and there is the wrinkle.
This is where you get your faithful fix. 49ers forecast with Larry Krueger keeps rolling on KNBR, the sports leader.
And we do keep it rolling on a Saturday morning. Hope everybody's having a great one. Larry Krueger with you for 49er forecast. I forecast the 49ers to not lose tomorrow. It's the bye week, so I'm not taking many chances. By the way, for you Cal fans, it's official. JKS is committed to Cal for 2026. He's not going anywhere, so he ain't going anywhere. So that's good news for Cal. Cal's got a new head coach, Tosh Lapoy, and JKS is staying. Could you imagine if they picked a head coach and he's like, nah, I'm out of here? That wasn't going to happen. The one guy who was absolutely going to have a say on who that head coach was going to be, outside of Ron Rivera, was JKS. and I'm sure he's happy. But welcome back to 49er Forecast, and joining us on the UMA guest line is John Chapman, who's got one of the most successful 49er podcasts. The 49er Rush podcast is one of the best in the country, and he's with us on the UMA guest line to chop it up and talk all things Niners. What's going on, John? How are you?
Oh, doing great. Just like JKS. I'm not leaving, Larry. I'm here for you, big dog.
John Chapman ain't going anywhere. Let's talk a little bit about that highlight coming back was Brock Purdy. I think it was 2 days ago was the official day, but 3 years ago, 2 days ago, 3 years ago, if that makes sense, Brock Purdy came off the bench for Jimmy Garoppolo. And I remember sitting there in the press box, and I was just coming back from getting a snack, if you can believe it. I know that's hard to believe, but I was walking back to my seat after I just grabbed a snack, and a couple people said to me, "Hey, Krug, your boy's coming in." And I said, "What do you mean?" They said, "Yeah, it looks like Garoppolo's hurt. Seriously, they're carting him off. Purdy's coming in." And I said, "Really? Really?" And as I said that, a couple people in the first row kind of looked back at me, and I said, "You know what? The 49ers," and I said this really loud in the middle of the press box, which probably is against the press box rules, but whatever. I said, "You know, the 49ers just got a whole lot better at quarterback." And all these, I swear, like at least 5 people in the first row in the press box shot me, Johnny, the dirtiest look. It was like they were Jimmy Garoppolo's aunts and uncles or something. It was like they turned around and looked at me like, "How dare you go at James Garoppolo like that? How could you possibly think that this Mr. Irrelevant is better than the great James handsome face Garoppolo?" But I'd seen it all summer, and I knew Garoppolo was a tire fire, and I knew Purdy was going to be better than him. And it's gone really, really well. Now the question is, what's Brock Purdy going to be like? He looked great last week against the Browns. What's he going to look like the rest of the way? Does he have enough juice to jumpstart this 49er offense and subsequently the team and vault them into Super Bowl 60 at home? That's what we all want. Can it happen?
I think everything's on the table. It's so possible. And you look at the stats that Brock Purdy did against the Browns last week in Cleveland, and there's nothing that's going to jump off for, the box score watchers or whatever else. It's nothing impressive. But whenever you watch the game, and what was the few complaints, which there were a few, putting the ball at risk, not operating the system, and just being smart and calculated with the ball and executing the game plan. He did that as well as any quarterback has done this year against that great Browns defense. And Myles Garrett's still amazing, and he had a great game, but you were able to mitigate what 95 was able to do against the offense. So many successful drives that resulted in points, didn't put the ball in jeopardy at all, amazing on third downs. And probably my favorite thing was Brock Purdy throwing the ball away. He had 6 throwaways and didn't put the ball on jeopardy, especially in first down. That's been one of the biggest, things this season is the 49ers offense putting the ball in jeopardy and turnovers on first down. Understand you don't have to do that. When you have great special teams, when your defense is playing like it has been the last few weeks, don't give the game away. Don't allow bad teams to stay in contention with you. And if Brock Purdy can, take away the risk while still having the explosive plays and still operating and still being one of the best third down teams in the NFL, opportunities are endless for this 49ers team.
No, I agree. The second play in the game last week I thought was really vitally important. Isaiah McGuire got penetration. He was the defensive end for the Browns, and he got into the backfield. And Purdy saw him late and had to spurt away late to get away from him, and did. And I wasn't sure if he had that post, turf toe injury, if he had that spurt ability, if he had that escape ability, but he showed it. And to me, if he's got that escape ability and he takes care of the football, anything's possible. I mean, I know that sounds like pie in the sky, but I think anything's possible if he just takes care of the football. Make a play, make a play, make a play. That's great. But how about this? Eradicate all negative plays. Don't turn the ball over. I mean, look at these teams. I mean, I watch the NFL all the time. I'm watching Lions, Cowboys. The Cowboys had more first downs. The Cowboys had more yards. The Cowboys, you could argue, might have even been better in that game. But the Lions were +3 in turnovers, and they won the game by 14 at the end. So it's like if you can win the turnover battle, you got a great chance. So that's what I would say to Brock Purdy is like, hey, just take care of the football, throw it away. You're right, 6 or 7 throwaways in this last game. Avoiding negative plays. Why is Stafford suddenly great and where early in his career he was statistically good but didn't win? Well, it's because he would throw for 350 yards and 3 interceptions. Now he throws those 3 interceptions into the turf, and he still throws for the 350, except now he wins by 3 touchdowns. So it's like, take care of the football, and I think for Brock Purdy, that's first and foremost. The goal. If you can take care of the football, you got a real shot. You have Christian McCaffrey, you have George Kittle, you have Trent Williams. You got a lot of great players on your side. Just don't lose the game. You don't have to necessarily win it, but just don't go lose it. And I think that mindset, I don't want to curb his aggressiveness, but you got to take better care of the football. And if he does, I think they got a chance to beat anybody, and that includes the Rams, the Eagles, you name it. I think they can beat anybody on any given day if they just take care of the ball.
Yeah, and the one thing I want to add to that is, you go back to the 2023 season where they're just blowing every single team out of the water and scoring 40 points a game, and you're sitting your offensive starters in the fourth quarter. Like, this is not that team. And so understanding the game plan for delivering victories for the 49ers in 2025 is, man, play quality football. Don't hurt yourself. Look at the penalties. They've only had 4 penalties the past 3 weeks combined. Like, you're starting to play clean football on the offensive side. Special teams is now a juggernaut. I would also add, like, punts are not bad things to happen for the 2025 49ers. With Thomas Morstead, the things that are happening out there, just continue to give your defense 80-plus yards to defend. That's complimentary football. Now, you get into the fourth quarter, well, we've seen Brock Purdy turn it on in the fourth quarter. You now go to the 2023 playoff run, and it was like, look, you're behind against the Packers. You're behind against the Lions. You're behind against the Chiefs. Brock Purdy brought the team back not once, not twice, but 3 times. Unfortunately, the defense eventually folded, and, that the Super Bowl is what it is. But you have Brock Purdy with 4 playoff wins under his belt. And he's young. And, yeah, that Week 13 game against Miami isn't too long ago, but he has now had a nice resume where, look, if we get into a fourth quarter shootout, that is the time. Go Brett Favre. Go Dan Marino. You're number 13 because your dad loved him. That is the time to do those things, not quarters 1 through 3, and sure as hell not first down in first quarter games like it was, against the Carolina Panthers. So you see the evolution. Now, it's only been 1 week. Can you continue that? You've got the bye week, and so, you've got another 2 weeks to implement this game plan against a bad Tennessee team, which the game plan should be the exact same. Look, we're not risking the ball. This is a bad team. It's a young quarterback. We have the game plan to win this game. Let's just continue to practice into this idea of we're not putting the ball at risk. We're moving the ball downfield systematically. You're using 23. You're using 85. Let's just get down there. All points are good points. Punts are not bad plays. Just don't turn the damn ball over. And I think the 49ers have a nice recipe for a lot more wins with the 4 games left in this season.
John Chapman with us on the Yuma guest line as we chop it up and talk a little bit about the Niners at the bye week. Niners, of course, get Tennessee a week from tomorrow in Week 15 to get that final 4-game stretch going. It's home against Tennessee, then it's at Indy, then it's home against the Bears, it's home against the Seahawks, and then it's playoff time. You mentioned the penalties. Let's talk about that for a second. 49ers last year had 111 penalties. They were dead last in penalties that benefited them with only 79. This year, it's been quite a different story. The Niners only have 67 penalties against them this year, 4th fewest in the NFL. So that's pretty incredible. And they're, they're up to 13th in penalties that have benefited them this season at 82. So overall, I mean, and the pre-snap penalties have been cut in half. Last year they had 46 pre-snap penalties. That number is down to 24 going into the bye week. So they're, this might be, and I said this earlier this week, and I don't know if you agree with me on this one, but I just really think that this, between Boyer, what he's given them as a special teams coach, the 49ers are a much better special teams unit than they ever have been in recent years. Their average starting field position this year is the 32.9 yard line. That's the second best mark in the NFL in the last 10 seasons. Only Buffalo last year started their drives at the 33.3 yard line. Was any better? So I mean, they're better on special teams. Saleh is a tremendous upgrade on Sorensen. Shanahan is probably having one of his best years. He could be the coach of the year. I said it, and I really believe it. I think this is the best coaching staff the 49ers have assembled during this regime. This is probably the best coaching staff top to bottom since Harbaugh was here with Brad Seeley and all those guys, what, over a decade ago now. I think this is the best coaching staff the Niners have had in a long time.
It's up there, man. Like, where is the weakness? You talk about, Shanahan being a finalist for Coach of the Year for, I think, the fourth time. I don't think he's ever going to win the award because the Writers Association kind of has this idea that you have to take a bad team to a good team, a historically bad team to a good team to win that award. If that was the case, probably 2019 was his best chance to win it, but he didn't. There's just quality everywhere. And since Shanahan showed up in 2017, they have had horrid special teams with Hightower. You got Snyder. Terrible. Just took 1 year and like 3 games to fix. And I'll say this, the special teams, I go back to my coaching days, Larry, and like it was very simple. It's like we have to win 2 out of 3 phases of the game: offense, defense, special teams. I know a lot of people neglect special teams, but there's so much hidden yardage behind what you can accomplish there. And whenever you talk about Moody, who's been perfect, the best kicker in the NFL, you bring in Matt Gay for 2 games, he doesn't miss a kick. Thomas Morstead, maybe not the most dynamic or, biggest leg punter out there, but you're not getting hurt by the net punting yards are incredible. If you look at this Brown game, the 49ers offense started 6 possessions. Their very first snap was on the other side of the 50-yard line. You're just creating it. You're playing on a par 3. You got to get 2 first downs and you're in scoring position. Whereas you look at the Browns offense, they had 5 drives with it starting inside their own 20-yard line. So the degree of difficulty for this game, whether it's for the defense who gets to defend 80 yards, or the offense, which only has to go, again, 20 yards till you're in field goal range, complementary football, all 3 phases clicking at the same time. Now, the schedule, you haven't played a bunch of juggernauts, but you don't have a juggernaut coming up next week either with the Tennessee Titans. And you're going to close out the season with 3 quality teams that are all kind of playoff bound. We'll see how that goes. But can you use the bye week? Can you use the easy scheduling to transition into that Kyle Shanahan December playoff, juggernaut? He's a couple wins away from passing his dad on playoff wins all the time. Like this is a season where that can legitimately be accomplished. And his dad's going to be in the Hall of Fame, all those great things. But what Kyle Shanahan has accomplished, this coaching staff can extend that. Still got to get the Super Bowl win. And hopefully that comes eventually. But you can't downplay the success that Kyle Shanahan has had historically in December and January in the playoffs. This team looks like it could be following suit.
Be incredible to see if them have a big run. It's funny, just from covering this team the last few years, I mean, it's pretty clear that Kyle Shanahan, now I don't know if he would agree with this, but he's said this in the past where he's been like, hey, I don't care if we win the game on special teams. Let's just not lose it on special teams. I think that was his mindset for a lot of years. Just don't, just stay out of the way and, do your special, just don't lose the game on special teams and we'll win it on offense. We'll win it on defense. We don't need to win it on special teams. But I think there was a total organizational kind of pivot this offseason. And they put their money where their mouth was, man. They built that special teams up. They went and got Brant Boyer. They devoted a bunch of dollars to guys like Saron Neal and draft capital to special teams. And, they put everything they possibly can into bolstering their special teams unit. And now here they are. It's I don't agree with the people that say it's a third of the game. It's not a third of the game, but it's also you shouldn't just be like, well, we just hope we don't lose the game on special teams. You got to be a little bit more competitive than that on special teams, and they're doing it this year. And Sky Moore takes it up the field with ferocity. I mean, I told him 3 weeks ago before he even had these big returns. I said, man, you're on the verge, bro. I mean, you're bringing it. This guy's taking it up the field like there's no fear at all. This guy, you see people on the highway with those no fear stickers and somebody's urinating off the back. It's like the Sky Moore, somebody ought to give Sky Moore a no fear sticker because he's got no fear. I mean, this guy is no fear. And I asked him about it. I said, bro, you go so hard up the field, you're going to get blown up. And he's like, I know. He goes, I do get blown up sometimes. But he laughed about it. And it's like when you're at that point where you can laugh about getting blown up because you're just that, you don't care. I mean, this guy doesn't work football. He plays football, and he brings all this infectious joy. And he's a great kid, man. He's just a tremendous kid. And then if you talk to him for, 2 minutes, you got a gigantic smile on your face. He has given them a ton. Thomas Morstead has given them a ton. Saron Neal has given them a ton. Their special teams is now a major factor for them. And it could be the difference. They haven't been able to win a Super Bowl to this point. Maybe bolstering the special teams and having that be not just a, part of the team, but actually a strength of the team. Maybe that will be the difference. Maybe they'll get over the top because of it.
Yeah, I love it. And, one of the names that I want to throw out there for special teams, Luke Gifford. He's third in the NFL in special teams tackles. And I know a lot of 49ers fans get upset when you think about Luke Gifford because he's had some mistakes on defense. But he's been lights out. Perhaps the best special teams player that Kyle Shanahan has had in his entire tenure. Like, he is putting together a Pro Bowl-worthy special teams performance. Just 5 sevens out there on every play. Now, back to Sky Moore. He's got over 1,000 all-purpose return yards. 1,000. Never been able to accomplish that at all in his career, and he was on the verge of getting benched. You remember there were some questionable decisions where he was fielding punts inside the 5 multiple times, bringing punts out from the end zone, and Shanahan, you can see, was visibly frustrated. But the decision-making and awareness and football IQ has really elevated, and that's given him his confidence. They were close to bringing in Jordan Watkins. They were close to swapping him out, made a couple big plays, stopped making the negative decision plays. Now, again, another potential Pro Bowl player returner. I think him and, Jones from the Patriots, who else is in line for best all-purpose returners in the NFL? It just changes things. And you bring those explosive plays to a team that is playing complementary football, offense and defensive, and you just add that little extra on top, it's enough to put them over the edge. And so the special teams, I think, has delivered 2 to 3 games this season. Where would you be if you had last year's? And it's funny, I got message from, I'm born and raised in Dallas, so some of my friends are Cowboys fans. I probably shouldn't admit that publicly, but they messaged me and they're like,
John, we're gonna have to go, John. Thanks for joining us, but we're gonna have to go.
But Nick Sorensen, who was our defensive coordinator last year, is now their special teams coordinator, and I'm just getting a flooded message dude, this is the worst special teams we've ever had, and it's just coaching matters. Coaching changes the way things happen, and Brant Boyer, which, hey, the only reason why you got Brant Boyer is because you brought over Robert Saleh. So does that go on to the Robert Saleh being such a great hire even more so? It's got the 49ers running, and, man, 9-4, control of your destiny. The only playoff team in the NFC that hasn't had their bye week now, they're in it. So they're going to be the most rested. You get some guys back. Catch and fire at the right time.
Robert Saleh is having a tremendous year. Dinah Rossini this morning from The Athletic is reporting that Robert Saleh is in a group of 6 or 7 coordinators that are going to generate interest as a head coach in this offseason. That's really not a surprise. I mean, look what Robert Saleh's done. I mean, the Niners with no pass rush at all have allowed fewer points defensively than per game than the Cleveland Browns, who have Myles Garrett, who's a Hall of Famer, having maybe his greatest year up front. And the Niners are rushing the passer with guys that literally were nowhere near this facility, at any point during training camp. And yet the Niners defense is better than the Browns defense, according to points per game, which is ultimately the bottom line, right? Points per game. Robert Saleh is definitely going to get an opportunity to coach. Now, if I was him, I wouldn't go. I would stay right here until the right job opened up, because you're only going to get one more shot. You failed with the Jets, and not really. The Jets were better with Robert Saleh than they ever were before or after, so he really didn't fail with the Jets, but he got dumped by the Jets. And if he goes somewhere else and it doesn't work out, that's probably a wrap on his head coaching chances. You don't typically get 3 and 4 and 5 chances to be a NFL head coach, no matter how good of a coordinator you are. That's what history says. I mean, go look at the Ray Rhodeses and the Richie Pettibones and all the different great coordinators through time. They got a chance. They maybe got a second chance. They didn't get a third chance. So if I was Robert Saleh, unless Cincinnati comes, they got Joe Burrow. If they want to, if Cincinnati wants to hire me and I'm Robert Saleh, I'd go. But the Giants call, no. Tennessee, no. The Raiders, hell no. I got to say no to most of these teams. What do you think? Is Saleh back in 26, or are they moving on to Gus Bradley or someone else and Saleh gets a gig?
I fully expect Robert Saleh to return. Why did Robert Saleh come here? Wanted to coach with Fred Warner, wanted to coach with Nick Bosa, wanted to see what he create from a defensive standpoint. You didn't get that chance this year. The injuries started piling on early, and, it's very reminiscent of the 2020 49ers season where you're using Kerry Hyder and just piecing all these, guys together, and it's working. But I still think there's something that Robert Saleh wants to show. I can create one of the NFL's best defenses. And you didn't get that chance this year. Now, everybody wants to be a head coach. I totally understand that. I wouldn't be upset if he did leave because he's earned it. The problem is this. You talked about Cincinnati with Joe Burrow. I think that there are 2 things that you have to have if you leave, if you're Robert Saleh. An elite established quarterback, or at least a young quarterback that's somewhat proven, and quality ownership. You just went to the Jets and you experienced what that was like, a team that's just not built to win from the infrastructure they have in place. Cincinnati fits that mold for me with Mike Brown as the owner. It just doesn't, that is literally probably the last owner I would want to be a part of in an organization. But Joe Burrow covers up a lot of that smell because he's just that good. They have Jamar Chase. They got Hendrickson. They'll be able to lock up. They have all sets there, but it's still Mike Brown. So I think he waits, and maybe you get somebody that rides off into the sunset, one of these historically great coaches, and you get a nice pairing of a quality ownership with a good quarterback. I think he comes back. And for 49ers fans, if Robert Saleh comes back next year, then leaves, that's where you get those third-round compensation picks again. If Robert Saleh leaves this year, the 49ers will not receive any of those compensation picks. You have to be on the coaching staff for 2 consecutive years. Yeah. So I think does that factor into his decision? Probably not. But for 49ers fans and those that are listening right now, you want those picks. You can trade those them, whatever. Yeah.
Those are always favorable. It's always favorable to get those compensatory selections if you get a coach that signs away who's a minority candidate, and that would happen, but the rule states he's got to be here for 2 years. So we'll see if that's the way it shakes out. He's a great follow on X, JL_Chapman. John Chapman does the 49er Rush podcast. He is the creator. He is the host, 49errush.com on the web. Johnny, great stuff. Thanks for jumping on KNBR with us.
You're the man, Larry. Appreciate you, brother.
John Chapman stopping by. We'll finish up with our 49er forecast stat of the week next on the Sports Leader.
KNBR, the Sports Leader. Faithful, time to make some Niners noise. 49ers forecast with Larry Krueger now continues on your proud home of 49ers football. KNBR, the sports leader.
Welcome back. 49er forecast. Larry Krueger with you on the sports leader on a brisk, cool, early December day. And I shouldn't even say that because, what's West Coast cool, right? Come on. For the East Coast, they're like, hey, it's balmy out there. But it's been in the 30s. It's been in the 30s out here in Walnut Creek. Anyway, that's going to do it for us. It's time for our 49er stat of the day, and we're going to go with Kyle Shanahan's out of the bye. By the way, Kyle Shanahan 8-4 in the playoffs. He's been really good in the playoffs, but he's been really good. His team's been really good after the bye week, and I don't know why that is. I'd love to ask Shanahan about that. We maybe will ask him next week. Kyle, why do you think your teams are so prolific after the bye? The 49ers are 44-19 after the bye week under Kyle Shanahan. 2019, they went 10-3 after the bye, started it off with 4 straight wins. 2021, they went 8-4 post-bye. 2022, they went 9-0 post-bye. 2023, they went 7-2 after the bye. So I think the Niners have a shot to run the table. I know the Browns and Arizona and Carolina are not great, but you know what? Arizona's a tough team that beat Dallas a couple weeks prior. The Browns have a really good defense. It's a tough place to play. There were 25-mile-an-hour winds and bad weather. And Carolina beat the Packers at Lambeau. Carolina has been an upstart team, and they've had many a good day this year. So I don't think the Niners played dog meat teams. I think they're getting it together up front. They got young secondary with talent that's coming together. They got a really good special teams unit. They got Brock Purdy back in there, and they are hungry for that Lombardi trophy. And I think you're seeing the manifestation of all these factors coming together. And I expect the Niners to maybe run the table. It's going to be tough, and that Bears game is going to be absolutely lit. But I think there's a chance they run the table. All right, it is time for us to run out of the studio because JD's warming up. Warriors go tonight at the Rocket Arena against the Cavs. There's all kinds of rumors about Jimmy Butler getting traded. Who do I want to break it all down for me? And I can have anybody on the globe breaking it down. Who do I want breaking it down? John Dickinson, and he's next. Thanks to Raph. JD is next. Enjoy your Saturday. We will see you. I would say see you tomorrow, but no Niners tomorrow. Enjoy the bye week, but enjoy JD. He's next on the Sports Leader.